Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress. Only 83 days till the Carlsen-Caruana World Championship match will start in London. And on Chess to Impress we continue the build-up, the countdown. We are going to look at all 46 matches in the history of the undisputed and official World Championship. Carlsen-Caruana will be number 47. This is number 8 in that series. We have seen Steinitz in action and now we are at the second world champion Lasker. He beat Steinitz, then he beat him again in a rematch, and in the last video we saw him beat the American Frank Marshall. This video is about Lasker against Tarrasch, which was played the year after the Marshall match. This is a picture of both players. I'm not sure if it is from the World Championship match, but we see Lasker on the left and Tarrasch on the right. And the chess world had been waiting for this clash for many years. Tarrasch was generally seen as the greatest challenge to Lasker. Lasker had been living in the USA but returned to his native Germany in 1908, and awaiting him there was his old opponent Dr. Siegbert Tarrasch, who was a physician by profession. The German Chess Federation raised funds for the match, and the funds were 6.500 Deutschmark for the winner, 2.500 for the loser, and 7.500 Deutschmark as an appearance fee for the world champion. The match was held in Düsseldorf and Munich in Germany, and it was the first to win 8 games who would win the match. There was no love lost between both players. At the opening ceremony, Tarrasch said, "Mr. Lasker, I have only 2 words to tell you: check and mate." It was a real clash of styles. Tarrasch was from the Steinitz school, searching for objectively the strongest move, while Lasker was more of a pragmatic player, searching for the move that was most unpleasant for the given opponent. And the match turned out to be a disappointment for Tarrasch. He lost 8-3 to the world champion. Many chess historians say that it would have been better if Lasker and Tarrasch had played a number of years before, because Tarrasch was not as strong as he once was, while Lasker played as strongly as 10 years earlier. Garry Kasparov in his book My Great Predecessors says Tarrasch was unable to find the key to his amazingly resourceful opponent. In particular, he was ruined by his adherence to the theory of correct moves, without taking into account psychological factors. In searching for the absolute truth, he went too far, lost control of the situation, and made more mistakes than his opponent. The match ended in a win for Lasker, 8 points to 3 over a total of 16 games. In this video we're going to have a look at Game 4. Lasker had won the first 2 games, but in Game 3 Tarrasch came roaring back at him by winning that game. This is Game 4, played on the 24th of August 1908. Tarrasch white, Lasker black, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, we have another Spanish, Ruy Lopez, knight f6, castling from Tarrasch, and d6. Kasparov writes in his book, Lasker follows the first world champion, which was Steinitz, by playing his favorite setup against the Spanish, passive but solid. Tarrasch did not believe in this setup. He said every cramped position harbors the germ of defeat. Interesting. They had different styles, different ideas on opening play. d4, bishop d7, knight c3, developing the other bishop, rook in the center, and Lasker decided to take on d4. Knight takes, and here castling was played in game 2 of this match, so 2 games before this game. But for this game Lasker decided to take on d4. If you now take on d7 with check, then knight takes d7 and the game is equal. Tarrasch decided to take on d4. Lasker took the bishop, knight takes back, and castling from the world champion. Bishop g5, kicking the bishop, bishop steps back, rook e8, and rook a d1. With a threat of e4, e5, which is an annoying move for black. Knight back to d7, and the bishops were swapped, and rook c3 from Tarrasch, with the idea of knight d4, knight f5, and it's also hitting the c7 pawn with 2 pieces. Kasparov writes that Tarrasch must have been happy with the outcome of the opening. White has a slight but enduring advantage and chances of increasing it without any risk. Lasker realized perfectly well that his only chance of avoiding a prolonged and grueling defense was to dislodge Tarrasch from his confident state. To do this, he had to create something unusual, contrary to all the positional rules and standards of chess wisdom. And that is what he does. Look at this move. Rook e5. As Kasparov says, a brilliant way of defending the c7 pawn. Can we not just take on c7 now? No, we can't. With the knight is not good because of rook c5. With a rook fork, that wins a piece. Will be a blunder. What if we take with the queen instead? That's also not good. Rook takes b5. That knight is just hanging. Queen takes d6. Rook takes b2. Yes, white can win his piece back. Queen takes, rook takes. But after rook c8, black has a better rook endgame. So back to the game. Taking on c7 is not good. Tarrasch saw all that and played knight d4. A good move according to Kasparov, with the idea of knight f5 and f4, he says. Rook c5 from Lasker hitting the queen. And Kasparov writes, of course, from a purely positional viewpoint, this move is very dangerous. The stray rook may cause black significant problems, but this rook is bound to upset the opponent's composure. And it did, as we'll see. Tarrasch stepped aside. Knight b6 and f4, a good move, cutting off the rook's retreat. It was Mark Dvoretsky, the famous chess trainer, who wrote here, white takes control of the e5 and g5 squares and prepares queen f3 and then b3 and c4 to harass that stray rook on c5. Queen f6 played by the world champion. Queen f3 as planned. Rook e8, c3 and a5 to come to the assistance of the rook. b3, a4, and here's an important moment. Tarrasch played b4 here, and Kasparov writes Tarrasch would appear to have become nervous, and he gives c4 as the better option. A takes b3, a takes b3, and he writes, this is the consistent way of playing and would have stifled the rook on c5 and condemned black to a difficult defense. Dvoretsky wrote here, after c4, this move, the position is clear and established, and white's subsequent play is simple. After b4, the move from the game, the position is more complicated. Lasker was superior to his opponent in tactics and better at finding his way in dynamic positions. In addition, he was significantly younger than Tarrasch, more robust and with greater stamina. It's clear who was favored by the further complication of the play. So it looks like Tarrasch played the wrong pawn up. He played b4, he should have played c4. It's attacking the rook, the move from the game. Rook c4. The rook is trapped, but putting constant pressure on c3, as Kasparov writes. g3 from Tarrasch, rook d8, and rook e3. And Tarrasch himself writes here, up to now I had conducted the game irreproachably, but then I was seized by the unfortunate idea of a rook sacrifice, which in view of time trouble I was unable to calculate properly. Let's have a look what unfolded. c5 from the world champion, knight b5 from the challenger, and c takes b4, and here comes that rook sacrifice. Rook takes d6. The rook was taken by Lasker, and Tarrasch followed up with e5, winning the rook back because of the fork. No, Lasker finds the refutation. And the refutation is with that hooligan rook, which makes it even nicer for black. Rook takes f4 refutes white's rook sacrifice. Complicated position, but it's really winning for black. You can take the rook with the queen, but that is not good because of rook d1 check, king f2, queen takes f4 check, g takes f4 and b3. And black is winning with his strong pawns on the queen side. Let's look at another move. Can we take the queen? We can, but that's also hopeless. Rook takes f3, rook takes a check, king g2 and then b3 again. Winning for black. In the end, Tarrasch chose to take with the pawn. And then queen g6 check is the winning move for black. Black is going to enter white's position with his heavy pieces. King h1. Check. King g2. Another check. Both rook and queen infiltrate. Rook e2. And queen takes a2. Now black's a-pawn is a monster. The rook was swapped. Check, king g3, and there goes the a-pawn. e6 from Tarrasch, desperately looking for counterplay, but that pawn will just drop off, as we'll see. Queen e1 check, king g4, and there goes the pawn with check. f5, queen c4 check, threatening to win the knight. You can just save your knight with knight d4, interposing, but there goes the a-pawn. This game is over. Queen d1, knight d5, Lasker brings his knight into the game. Queen a4, there goes the pawn. A spy check on the 40th move. King h7, one more move, and after Lasker queened his pawn, Tarrasch resigned. Quite a crucial game. He was now 3-1 up in the match, and as I showed you, he won the match in the end by 8 wins to 3. That was the Lasker-Tarrasch match, and in the next video we're going to look at how Lasker defended his world title 2 years later against Karl Schlechter. Hope you enjoyed the video and this series building up, counting down towards Carlsen-Caruana. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel. Please leave a comment, I will read them all and I will reply to them all. If you liked the video, it would be great if you could share it on social media or share it with your chess friends. You also may want to check out my Chess to Progress channel. The link is in the description box. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.